1.5, and by the way, you might be able to do that fairly quickly. What you really want to do is start working with these investors who have money that are buying these high-end properties cash and they're flipping them. All right, but what they don't want to do is they don't want to go through that bank negotiation process, and they're looking for property ready to go, ready to flip, so they can make a clean, quick profit with their money. So this is where you come in at. And what you're doing is you're offering this in the MLS at $1.2 million with a down payment of $850,000 down. Now you can get whatever you want. You can ask for whatever you want. But if you ask for the $850,000, you're going to build yourself in there for $100,000 cash equity position at closing. See, if you have to pay $750,000 to the bank using our money, and you resell it to somebody, and they're bringing in $850,000, that gives you an extra $100,000 difference there. That's money in your pocket. All right. So the way the structure works is that we are selling to an investor that wants to flip this property and probably flip it at the $1.4 or $1.5 million mark. And so we're leaving room in it for them to make a quick profit on the deal as well. Now what we're going to do is keep in mind, since we're selling it for 1.2 and we're only asking for $850,000 down, that leaves another $350,000, which we're going to create an assumable seller carried first lien on that amount. All right, now in this case, this is your property at this point because you've used our money in order to go in there and buy it from the bank, and you're selling this now at 1.2. That means that you have an automatic equity position of the $100,000, which you're going to get cash at closing, and another $350,000 that somebody still owes you. All right, so this this investor that you're selling this to basically is going to create a note to you. All right, and then you're going to create a note with whatever amount of payments that you want. Now, I use my financial calculator, which you have access in the back office to use. Now, this is called my core calculator, core financial calculators. What you're going to find is that these 4 different calculators here will allow you to create any kind of owner carry note scenario you can dream of. It allows you to create backwards and forwards. All right, so this is where you would create your note. For example, if we've got a $350,000 first lien that we're going to create here, you can plug in whatever interest rate you want. But how great would it be to offer somebody a 4% first lien position of $350,000 loan on a property at $3,000 per month? So I'm going to plug in there $3,000 and solve for the term. So they're going to make 148 payments of $3,000 to pay off this note. And by the way, if you figure that out, you're going to generate another $100,000 in interest alone if they were to pay this out over the approximately 12 years right there. Okay, so this is what we use to create our notes and figure what our notes are going to be so we can customize it. Well, what if this particular person says, well, John, instead, I'd like to have maybe a $2,500 payment, or maybe I want to pay it off sooner and I don't think I'd have any problem connecting with my next in buyer at $3,500. Well, we could change this up. You can change it to whatever you want when you understand how to use these calculators. All right, so basically what we've done here is we've created, and why we wanted to make an assumable seller carryback, all right, and keep in mind you're the seller, is because we want this investor to be able to utilize, now pay attention, because this is why investors will want to buy your home instead of the other home down the road under the same terms but maybe a higher down payment. In other words, the guy down the street may be wanting all $1,200,000 on the deal right now. Well, with your transaction, you're not going to eat up their cash. All right, so they can put down a smaller amount and do twice as many deals and make twice as much money working this type of scenario than they would trying to pay all cash for it. And especially when they understand that this first lien note here is fully assumable, that means they simply will pass this money through to their end buyer. That means they can buy this property from you for only $850,000, flip it for the 1.4 or whatever they ultimately get through, pass this loan right through to the end buyer, and never be out that money. In fact, I'm going to show you how good it gets for them in just a second and why they will want to work with you on these transactions rather than just going and buying a house all cash and then flipping it, which is what they're doing right now, folks. This is what they're doing right now. Okay, so let's go on. Now, from the investor, let's take a look at what this investor does and how this investor comes out buying your house using this combination of cash and seller financing that you're providing. First of all, the investor is going to sell it. Let's say he sells it for $1.5 million with a $1 million down. All right. Well, that means that he can pocket $150,000 on the transaction. He can wrap the first, plus he makes $150,000 extra on the sales price at the 4% and picks up an extra $1,295 monthly. Now let me show you exactly how this works out. Remember that I said that he's going to take over and we're passing through basically and letting them assume the $350,000 note. But if he sells it and takes back a note at, in essence, $150,000 more than this, let's plug in those numbers and see what that would be. At 360, 4% interest rate for 1.5 million. We got to keep the same terms, which are 148, and the terms are down here off that bottom note. All right, so you can just essentially you can wrap that note. Whoops, I'm sorry. I'll take that back. All right, so it's $150,000 that he's going to add to the note, which he can do one of two ways. One, he can wrap our note, and I explained to you how they can do that, or they can create a second lien note and take back $150,000 that way. All right, so in this case, he can create $150,000 if he wants to match the terms, which is up to him. If he wants to, he can, and even keep the same interest rate. That would net him another $1,285 a month. All right, now keep in mind we're getting the original $3,000 a month, but now this is the way that your investor can walk away with basically an extra monthly income for themselves simply by wrapping our note or an extra amount of money in that transaction. So the investor walks away with